Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Today we're going to be going over all the helmets in Fallout New Vegas, and we're going to be ranking them here in our tier list. I made the tier list look a little bit different, at least in terms of color, but we still have our regular tiers from D tier to S tier being the best, D tier being the worst, and probably not something that you want to go for. We've got a lot of helmets to go through, so let's begin. Our very first one is the Advanced Riot Gear. We're just going to do this in alphabetical order too, because a lot of these helmets kind of look the same. First up, the Advanced Riot Gear helmet. You can only find one of this. You can find it in the Lonesome Road DLC. This one you also find with the Advanced Riot Gear, and this one has some unique things about it. It has 5 damage threshold on it, which is pretty good for a helmet. That's about the same as a lot of light armors in terms of defense. Weighs 6, so not too heavy. It also gives you the sneak sight, and you also get +2 perception to it. So this is better than most hats. This is like a hat and glasses combo, and the helmets are kind of bugged, at least from Lonesome Road. I don't remember if the other Ranger helmets are bugged, but like this one and the Elite Riot Gear, and I think the regular Riot Gear, all don't count as actually a helmet. They count as glasses. So you can put a hat on and still have this on. You can't put like this on and then another helmet on, but a hat does fit on there, so you can put like this plus the first recon beret and they'll be clipping through one another. But that's really, really strong that it is bugged that way. And this one's going up into S tier, not just because of that. Even if it wasn't bugged, this would still be a fantastic helmet to be putting on. Because like the defense is good, the sneak sight is great, and then +2 perception is basically better than any sort of like hat you can throw on there. Maybe not as good as certain glasses, like the Lucky Shades do give you +2 normally. So it's still a fantastic headset though that you could put on. Then we've got the Centurion helmet. The Centurion helmet is also another really good helmet. This one protects for 5, same as the last one, weighs 3, so it's not that heavy. The only downside is that there's only a couple of these throughout the game, but you can get one of these pretty early on if you're willing to go and kill some people at Caesar's Legion's camp. And this one's pretty decent. It actually has good defenses. It doesn't have any other bonuses to it, so it's not a amazing helmet, and you're probably not going to be using it for super long. But if you do get it early enough, I would say this one's like potentially A tier. Otherwise, I'm going to put it in like, maybe I'll put it to the low end of A tier. It's really good at the start because you can just go right to Cottonwood Cove, kill the Centurion there, take his helmet, use it, and then have a lot of defense early on. Then we have all of our combat helmets. And first up, we have the regular combat helmet. This protects 3, it weighs 3. No other effect. This one's a decent helmet too. This one gives okay defenses, so I'd put it B tier. It's also pretty common to find like combat armor. Then we have reinforced combat armor. This one protects for 4, weighs 3. This one's just an upgrade from that. I'm still going to put it into like B tier because I don't think it's way great since it doesn't have any other effects or anything, but the armor is pretty decent on it. And then we've got the reinforced combat armor helmet Mark II, weighs 2.5. So it's better on weight than any of the other combat helmets, and it's better on defense, and it's even better than something like the Centurion helmet. Doesn't have any other effects, but still. Gonna put it up into A tier, it's pretty good. Up next we have the Desert Ranger helmet. This is with the Desert Ranger armor. You can get this in Honest Hearts. It's super easy to find this and the armor. You don't even need to fight anything to get it, and it's really strong armor if you want to run there real early on. Because this helmet actually protects you for 5. It doesn't weigh anything. It doesn't have any other effects on it, but that is really good, especially with how early you can get it and it doesn't weigh anything. That's awesome. I'm going to put this one up into S tier. That might be a bug that it doesn't weigh anything. That's still really nice to have. And then we have the Elite Riot helmet, which you find this in Lonesome Road with the Elite Riot Gear. This one protects for 6, it weighs 6, and this one gives you the sneak sight, +5 speech, and +2 perception. That's really good too. This one also just looks awesome. I mean, all the Riot helmets look awesome, but this one's also going to go right to the very top of S tier. It is still bugged like the other helmet too, so you can put this on and then put like the first recon beret on your head and get that 5% crit chance, plus the extra 2 perception. Oh, plus the 1 perception from that, so you can have +3 perception just overall. And still like the +5 speech and the sneak sight. It's just crazy that you can put all those on there. Again, I think that's bugged and it's not supposed to work that way, but it does in every version of the game. So you might as well take advantage of it. And yeah, Elite Riot Gear all the way up into S tier. It's really, really good. And then we have all the Fiend helmets, which these are more or less the same. They just kind of look different, except for one of these. This is actually supposed to be a helmet later on, so we'll move that one down. But this is the Fiend Battle Helmet, the Fiend Helmet, and the Fiend Warrior Helmet. All these weigh 1, they all protect for 1, and they give you +1 perception. +1 perception's fine. 1 and 1 just isn't that great for a helmet. Hats do the same exact thing, so I'd put all these into D tier. They're just not as good as just wearing a hat over it. Then we have the Fire Helmet. The Fire Helmet, you can only get a couple of these. These are found in the fire station, where you also find Knock Knock. There's a couple of these in there. These protect for 2, they weigh 1. They do look unique, but they don't have any other bonuses to them, so I'm going to put this one into C tier. 2 and 1 is fine overall, but it's nothing incredible. The combat helmet is probably going to outcompete this for just protection. Next helmet is the Goggles helmet. This one protects for 2, weighs 3, doesn't have any other effect. This one you're probably not really going to use. It's not as good as like the fireman helmet because it has the same defenses but 1 weight. And I guess 2 is fine enough, maybe. I don't know. I'd probably put this one on the high end of D tier. I'm not going to use it over a combat helmet. But I would use it over these. So I guess I'd put it there for right now. We can move some of these around. This lower half of the tier I'm usually not really going to be thinking about too much. Then we've got the Great Khan spiked helmet, and this one protects for 2, it weighs 1. It's the same as the fireman's helmet, so it's also going to go right up here in C tier as an okay helmet. It definitely looks interesting though. The motorcycle helmet with the horns, I kind of like. Then we've got the hazmat dark light cowl. This one is the Ghost People's mask that you see in Dead Money, although you find this one in Old World Blues. This one protects for 2, it weighs 2, and it gives you night vision, which that's actually pretty cool. The night vision is pretty good. This isn't the same as the sneak sight that the riot gear has, where this just kind of ups the brightness. The night vision actually gives you like the varmint rifle's night vision on it, and this one's not bad. It's not amazing, but it does look really awesome. So like in terms of looks, it's probably like S tier. In terms of function, it's probably like B tier. It's fine enough, and it does go really well with the full hazmat suit. That outfit just looks really cool. Then we've got the Leggate's helmet, which the Leggate's helmet you're only really going to get at the very end of Fallout New Vegas after you kill the Leggate and take it off of him. And this one protects you for 4, and it weighs 2, which is pretty good. It also looks awesome. It's one of the coolest looking helmets out of any of the helmets that we have here. So for that, I'd put it up into A tier, but again, you're probably not going to be using it. So realistically, it's going to be like a D tier in terms of actual use. Unless you want to spawn it in. It doesn't actually have any other effects either, so it's fine, but nothing crazy. Even the Centurion helmet is actually stronger than it somehow. I don't know why that is, but it is. Then we've got the MP helmet. You can get this off of various NCR MPs. This one is basically the same as the goggles and helmet, where this one protects for 2 and it weighs 3 and it has no other effects. So this one's also going to go into the low end of C tier. It's fine, it's whatever. Then we have all of the Marked Min Beast masks. These ones you can get on named Marked Min throughout the Lonesome Road. So our very first one is the Marked Beast Eyes helmet. This one protects for 3, it weighs 3, and this gives you plus 3 melee weapons, and it also gives you plus 10 HP overall. That's not too bad. I mean, melee weapons is good. This has decent stats on it, and getting a little bit of extra health probably isn't really going to matter, but it might in some situations. Might make it so you regenerate a little bit quicker, or you're less likely to use your healing up as much over a long course of time where those 10 HP actually come in handy. But this one, I'm going to say it's like A tier. This one is fine. It's pretty good. The melee weapons on it is definitely the selling point if you want to have a melee-oriented build. And you can get these sometimes pretty early on too throughout the Lonesome Road. So you just have to kill the marked men that have these, which can be a bit of an issue. Our next one is the Marked Beast Face Helmet. This one also protects for 3, it weighs 3. This one also gives you 3 more melee weapons, but it gives you 2 more crit chance. Like 2% crit chance is nice, especially on a melee weapons build. Melee weapons love crits, unarmed love crits, and you're probably going to be using them both in conjunction with one another. I think that this one's actually like the best of the Marked Men helmets, and I'd put it up into S tier. It's actually pretty good. It's not going to be quite as good as some of these helmets, like if you just take this and put the first recon beret on it, that's going to be way better. But it's still pretty good. Then we've got the Marked Beast Helmet. This gives you plus 2 energy weapons and plus 10 to your energy resist. This one's okay. Energy weapons is kind of nice to have because there's not a whole lot of things that actually boost energy weapons. This is one of the few. But energy resist, there's not a whole lot of enemies that actually use energy weapons either. It's not a terrible thing to have, but I'm going to say that this one is probably the weaker or the weakest of the helmets that we get here. And I'm going to put it into B tier. I still think it's decent. It would still make good armor, so it's going to be like the top of B tier. But I don't think the bonuses are as impactful as some of the other ones. And then we have the Beast Marked Tribal Hat, or the Marked Beast Tribal Hat. This one protects for 4, weighs 2, so this one has better defense to weight ratio. And this one gives you plus 3 melee weapons and plus 3 unarmed. That's pretty good too. If you're using melee, you're probably using unarmed. If you're using unarmed, you're probably using melee. The helmet is decent, it gives you good defenses. I'd put this one A tier. I think it's pretty good. Maybe not as strong. It's not as strong as the other one where you just get crit chance, because crit chance for melee and unarmed is just really, really good. Next helmet is the metal helmet, which this one is basically the same thing as the combat armor helmet, which it's kind of weird. The metal helmets are not bad, whereas metal armor is generally pretty bad. This one protects for 3, weighs 3, no other stats than that, so it's also going to go up into B tier. It's perfectly fine as a decent helmet overall. Then we've got the reinforced metal helmet, which is the same as the reinforced combat helmet. So this is 4 defense, 3 weight, my fingers will work. that's pretty good too. The helmets right here, the combat armor and the metal armors are actually pretty decent if you find them early on enough, and you're not going for like any of these unique ones besides like I guess the reinforced Mark II helmet, because that one is better than these other ones. And then we have Motor Runner's helmet. This one is a unique helmet that you do need to turn in for a quest, at least if you would like to complete the quest. This one protects for 2, it weighs 1, and it gives you +5 melee weapons and +1 perception. That's pretty good too. +5 melee weapons is great, +1 perception is decent. That gives you like what a hat is worth. I mean, it's not as bad as these either, because it actually has some defense to it. I don't think it's as good as like the beast marked masks, where they're just better than this, but I would put this one B tier. I think it's actually okay if you want to wear it early on. Then we've got the motorcycle helmet. This one protects for 2, it weighs 1, no other effects. This is the same as like the fireman's helmet, so it's also going to go into C tier. It's fine. Then we have the Legion helmets, which a lot of these are the same. So this is both the Prime helmets as well as both the Recruit helmets, because they have the same stats. This is 2 defense, 3 weight, and no other effects. These also don't count towards like Legion or anything. Helmets just don't count towards that. It's only the outfit. So this one is going to go right here with like the NCR stuff. They're all basically the same. They protect for 2, they weigh 3. If you like the aesthetics of them, put them on, and they're decent early on. But as soon as you find like a combat helmet or a metal helmet, those are better. And if you're going for any of the unique ones, they're also better. Then we have all the Raider helmets, with the exception of one of them, the Blastmaster helmet. So this is the Raider's welding mask, as well as the regular welding mask. There's no real difference between the two. They just say that they're different things. Then there's also the Wastehound helmet. Had a hard time saying that. And the Psycho Tick helmet. All of these are exactly the same for Raiders. Sometimes you'll see Raiders wearing these. They give 1 defense, they weigh 3, they have no other effects. They are terrible. They're worse than the Fiend helmets. They're going down at the very bottom of D tier. You don't want to be using like any of these helmets here. But then we have the Raider Blastmaster helmet, which this one is better, because this one, even though it has the same bad stat line of 1 armor and 3 weight, it does have bonuses. It has +5 guns and +5 explosives. And +5 explosives on a helmet is really nice. +5 guns is pretty decent too, although there is some clothing that's more common to have guns on it than explosives. So I think the explosives is really the selling point, and I'd put this one like C tier. I think it's actually decent. It's not as good as just going to like Old World Blues and getting Doctor or Mobius's glasses to give you that +10 explosives. At least that's something. You can find this early on too, because sometimes you do just find any of these Raider helmets on random Raiders that you will find throughout the Wasteland. I skipped over one of the helmets for some reason. This is the Gannon family Tesla helmet. You get this from helping Arcade Gannon. This one weighs 5, it protects for 6, which is really good for a helmet in terms of armor. Has -1 charisma, which is kind of a downside, although charisma is not a combat stat, and this is more combat focused. And then it gives you +5 rad resist. This one looks really, really cool. It's one of my favorite looking helmets, and it can be really good, but I think I'm actually going to put this one just at the top of A tier. I don't really like the -1 charisma to it. If you would like to put it into S tier, I totally understand though, because it is one of the coolest looking helmets and it does protect well enough. And if you don't care about charisma whatsoever, you don't care about your speech or barter checks, and you just want tankiness and a little bit of rad resist, this one is really good then. Moving on to the rest of our list in alphabetical order now, we have the Riot helmet. This one you can also find in Lonesome Road. This one's much more common because there is no limited amount of it like the advanced one or the elite one. This one protects you for 4, it weighs 6, which is decent. 4 armor is still pretty good for a helmet. This one also gives you the sneak sight, and it gives you +1 perception. This one I would say is the weaker of these helmets up here, so I think I'm also going to put this one up into A tier. It's still really good and it looks really cool, but I don't think it's as good as these other options up into S tier, but that's just me. If you want it, then by all means take it. I usually switch this one on and then switch to the elite one, and then or switch to the advanced one, then switch to the elite one by the time I'm leaving. And it still is technically bugged too, so you could say that also helps with it, where you can also put like that first recon beret on. That's kind of nice. Then we've got just the regular Ranger helmet. This one's not as strong as the other helmets that we've talked about that look like it and are just kind of better versions of it. This one protects for 4, it weighs 3, and it doesn't have any other effects, which makes it so this armor actually has the same stat line as the somewhat unique combat helmet and the metal helmet. So I guess I'd put it also up into B tier. I do like the look of this one way more than the other ones, but I feel like it belongs there because it doesn't have any other bonuses like all these other ones up here do. So still a really good helmet, really solid. You're probably not going to get it super early on, but definitely a super iconic and really cool looking helmet overall. Then we have the Remnant's Power Armor helmet. This one is basically the most tanky helmet that you can get, because this protects for 8, which is better than like half of all the light armor. So that's pretty good. It weighs 5, which isn't too much. And this one gives you -1 charisma and +5 rad resist. This one is just better than the Gannon Tesla one, unless you like the look of that one better. But I would put this one up into S tier. This one is really cool, and if you want it on a tank build, it's really, really good. Then we've got the Recon Helmet. The Recon Helmet is something that comes with Recon armor usually. This one protects for 2, weighs 3, doesn't have any other bonuses. This one's going right down to C tier like a lot of these ones that have that same stat line. Our next helmet is Salt Upon Wounds Helmet. You get this at the end of Honest Hearts. This one will protect you for 4, it weighs 3, which is pretty good. This has a 2% crit chance, also really, really nice. And this one gives you +5 sneak. That is really good. That is actually really, really solid, especially on a melee or an unarmed build, or even on just like a sniper build. It can be pretty good. It's not going to be as good as taking like Lucky Shades plus the first Recon Beret, but this one's still going to be a really good choice if you want to use that. Again, I don't know if it's as good as the Marked Min helmet. It's probably about as good, so I might put this one up into S tier just because of the crit chance. It might be A tier though. I could see these ones being moved down and maybe the Gannon helmet being moved up. It really depends on what you want and why you're going for them. Then we've got the Salvaged Power Armor helmet. This one is what the NCR uses. And this one protects for 4, which is good. It weighs 5 and it doesn't have any other stats. That's all around okay. It's nothing crazy, and I'd put it up into like B tier with a lot of these other helmets that kind of protect for 4 and don't have anything else crazy on them. Then we have the Sierra Madre helmet. This one protects for 4, it weighs 3. No other effect than that. It's good. It's going to go up into B tier along with a lot of these helmets that are very similar to it. Then we've got the reinforced Sierra Madre helmet, which this one protects for 5, weighs 4, and no other effect on it. This one's going to go up into A tier. This one's good. This one's just better than some of these other ones down here in terms of defense, and the weight is fine on it. So all around, it's kind of nice if you want to use it. No added effects aren't really my favorite thing, but they're okay if you just need a helmet. Then we've got the Slave Scarf, which technically counts as a helmet, weirdly enough. It's not a hat, even though it has everything that a hat would, because it doesn't protect you at all. It's 0 in terms of defense, 1 weight, and 1 perception. So many hats have this, I don't know why this is considered a helmet. It's going into D tier, because it should just be with their other hats. Then we've got the Space Helmet. The Spacesuit helmet you get with the Spacesuit, and the Spacesuit's pretty decent, especially if you get it early on. This protects for 4, it weighs 0, and it doesn't have any other effect other than that. This one's actually really good. This one is fantastic. It's not going to be as good as the Ranger helmet here with +5 with 0 weight, but this one, early on, this one's S tier, because you can run and grab it right at the very start and have something that's pretty good. As the game goes on, you could switch it out for this, and this would just be a direct upgrade to it, so I'm going to put this one into A tier. Next helmet is the T45D Power Armor Helmet. This one protects for 5, it weighs 5, and it gives you +3 rad resist. That's pretty good. Good defense, gives you bonus on it. I'm going to say this one's a high A tier. It's really good. Then we've got the other Power Armor Helmet, which is the T51B. This one protects for 6, weighs 4, gives you +1 Charisma, and gives you +8 rad resist. That one's going up to S tier. That one's good. That one's actually really, really good. Both are actually really good, but this one is just better. It's better defense to weight ratio, and +1 charisma can be useful in certain situations. +8 rad resist is also useful in plenty of situations. This one might not be as good if you're just going to go like, I want full tank build, because then you'll just go with the Remnants power armor. But other than that, this one is pretty decent. Then we've got the Trooper Helmet. The Trooper Helmet is something that the NCR has on. It's the same as like the helmet with glasses, which it's 2 defense, 3 weight, no other effect. It's going to go into C tier just like all of these helmets do. Then we've got the Vault 34 Security Helmet. This one protects for 3, it weighs 3, it's the same as a combat helmet, but you can get a couple of these potentially early on if you run there, although you can find combat helmets pretty early on too. This one's going to go like in the middle of B tier as well. It's fine. It's pretty good. Not as good as the armor that comes with it. Then we've got both the Veteran helmets from Caesar. These do look a little bit different, but they have the same stat lines, which is they protect for 3, they weigh 3, and they have no other effect. So this is also going to go up into B tier. It's fine as a helmet. It's better than the other helmets from like the regular troops, which is kind of on par because they're supposed to be more the veteran troops, the elite troops. Or not necessarily the elites, but at least experience, so they have a little bit better gear. And then our last helmet is the Wolf Helmet, the Vex something or another helmet. I don't know how to say it. This one is usually like what the Scouts wear in Caesar's Legion, and this one's a pretty bad helmet. This one protects for 1, it weighs 3, and it has no other effects. There's no reason to use this over any of the other Legion helmets, so it's going to go into D tier. It's just not worth it. This is where I'd put all the helmets in New Vegas. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. Where would you put them? There's a lot of pretty decent helmets and some really great ones that you can get throughout. We are going to be doing one more list that's about armors and stuff, but it's going to be about all the other weird gear that you get or can wear. that doesn't really fall into any of these categories. Some of them do kind of take the place of like helmets, hats, glasses, stuff like that, but others don't so much. But thank you guys so very much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye!